Republicans are in an impossible position. That's what we'll talk about in today's video. I don't know how they got themselves into this, but there is no clean way for the Republicans to get out of it. It is obvious that Barack Obama is not going to cede any more than a token, if that, of his Obamacare program or of anything else in response to the shutdown. That should have been apparent for months before this. Obama can't at this point give anything up without effectively resigning the presidency. You must never back your adversary into a point where he has no escape route, because then he has no option but to stand there and fight. And you particularly don't want to do it when your adversary controls one branch of the Congress and the presidency. Obama can't give in. Effectively, if he did, he'd become a lame duck president, and he might as well resign. The Republicans, on the other hand, have not left themselves much of an escape out. They could just simply fold their hand and walk away, but then nobody would ever take them seriously again. And they would seem like idiots for having done it in the first place, which they are. But the goal is not to appear like an idiot when in fact you're acting like one. This is entirely because the Republicans and the Democrats have been reapportioned in the House into safe districts, that is to say, safe from challenge from one another. The Democrats are pretty secure in their districts and the Republicans in theirs because of the way the reapportionment lines were drawn. But that means they are immensely vulnerable to primary challenges. And that means that Republicans have to look to their right and Democrats have to look to their left. And it means that nobody compromises. They stay where they are because the only thing they got to be afraid of is somebody more extreme than they are coming in and challenging them in the primary. This thing that makes me sick about this is that as the Republicans squander their credibility over this effort to shut down the government, they could have had a perfectly credible stand, and if they can bring this to a close, still can, over the debt limit. Because while the public will not accept shutting down the government any more than they'd accept shutting down the schools over a teacher pay dispute, they would accept a refusal to let the government borrow more money, even if that forced a shutdown, only if the government cut its spending. People could understand that. They could wrap their arms around it. I see basically no alternative than a sort of face-saving deal where perhaps the medical device tax is repealed and replaced with something else, and maybe they succeed in getting members of Congress to be covered by Obamacare. Probably the only route, if I were advising Boehner right now, what I would say is pass a clean CR, vow to fight again another day over the debt limit. Say this isn't the end of the fight, this is just the end of the battle. And in the continuing resolution have only one clause, which is that the members of Congress, House and Senate, and their staffs, and administration employees, all have to abide by the terms of Obamacare, which is to say they cannot get the three-quarter subsidy that at least the legislative branch now gets. If Boehner were to send that bill over to the Senate, it would have to pass, because the senators are not about, nor is Obama about, to keep the government closed so they can get a 75% subsidy on their health insurance that the rest of the country isn't allowed to do. Now, if they do this quickly and they get that through, it'll be perceived as not a victory, but at least not a crushing rout and defeat. And the public will say, well, I'm glad that that happened. Then, 2 weeks hence, they could really fight over the debt limit, which is the position they should have fortified in the first place. I hope somebody's listening. Thanks a lot for you listening. By the way, this week, I have a book coming out that's come out already. It's on Amazon and Barnes & Nobles called What It's Like to Be President. And it's designed for early teenagers, 11, 12, 13, 14, or precocious, 8, 9, 10, and or homeschoolers in around the 5th grade. And in a very witty, neat style with a lot of great drawings and cartoons. It explains how the government works. And it does it by the case history of the Welfare Reform Bill passage of '96, which was really the last time Congress and the President worked together on anything, and they got a huge amount achieved. That was the same time that they balanced the budget and did all kinds of neat stuff. And this explains how the process worked, not just formulaically, but in terms of the attitudes of each of the people and how they came to the conference table and their discussions and the pitfalls and the efforts to sabotage it. And in the course of it, they learn about the checks and balances, the media, the press, the political parties, the leaders of the parties, how they interface with the members. It's kind of fun. It's really because there's no good textbook about American government, except one that just says there are 3 branches and these are their powers. So pick it up. You can get it on Barnes & Nobles or Amazon.com. It's called What It's Like to Be President by me. Oops, sorry, I made a mistake. Like any author, I didn't get the title of my book right. The title of the book is What's It Like to Be President? What's it like to be president? I transformed it into a sentence. What it's like to be president, but this isn't. It has a question mark at the end. What's it like to be president? From Amazon or Barnes & Nobles. Thanks a lot. But Dick Morris is right. I got that right. Thanks.